What is going on, everybody? Welcome into The Highlight, a super serious business podcast for only the most serious business people. And today I'm sharing The Highlight with obviously the most serious person I know. And I say that definitely tongue-in-cheek because he smiles way too much. My new friend slash old friend slash good friend, Jimmy McKinney, the owner of J&R Construction. Jimmy, how are you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
Good, Chandler. Thanks for having me. Yeah, we have a long history back to barbecue days.
Back in the barbecue days, yeah. Austin's not here today, my co-host and co-owner of IB Marketing, but he he loves slash hates because I always have like a weird barbecue analogy or a barbecue story from like back in the day. And so he loves to give me a hard time after the fact. He's like, if you tell one more barbecue story on a sales call or during the podcast, like I'm gonna lose my mind. But but now I've got somebody here that's like he was actually around, so it's not me just making stuff up. It was a real thing at one time. I smoked brisket for a living, so it was great.
Yeah, I may have to. So my youngest daughter, I have three daughters. My youngest has the entrepreneur gene. She wants to open her own barbecue restaurant. So
Nice. Hey, well, I hope you know if she needs any help, let me know.
Yeah.
I'm happy to give her my 2 cents. Well, Jimmy, that's enough about me. Everybody here always hears me yapping, but we'd love to hear more about you, man. Just give us a like 30-second overview of who you are and what J&R is, and then we'll dive in.
Whew, 30 seconds. Man, I'm long-winded too, so I don't know if I can do that. Let's see. So Jimmy McKinney, J&R Construction, we're a design build home remodeling company. So we focus on kitchens, bathrooms, basements, room additions, decks, whole house remodels, and we also have a handyman division. We do small projects. We do some custom build houses, but mainly our core business is remodeling. So if you were going to remodel your kitchen, your bathroom, or add on a room addition, finish your basement, build a deck, a porch, that's what we do. Design build means we have everything in-house we have interior designers, we have design software. So if you're watching the national branded shows that are all out there on the networks, we have that same software, and we've been doing it for a long time. So we take you through the design process of drawing the space, making selections, getting trade contractor walkthroughs, all those things. So what you see on TV that only takes 30 minutes takes us about 3 months to get through the design and then get into construction. It may take a couple more months. So, but that's kind
Man,
of short and sweet of what we do.
yeah, I think that's pretty good for somebody that's long-winded. You got that pitch in,
Yeah.
you got the elevator pitch in you, no problem, right? Yeah, you kept it under an hour. We're good. I do think that's fascinating, and I want to talk some of the customer service issues that you probably have faced in your life because I think that'd be really beneficial for people because I know that something as personal as a house is going to matter a lot. But I'd love to know, like, first before we jump into that, how did you start J&R Construction? What's the story there?
Yeah. So going back to when I grew up, my grandfather, great grandfather owned some sawmills. They did some handcrafted furniture. My dad built our house when we were little. He wasn't in construction, but always did something on the side. I was doing things. When we moved from Eastern Kentucky to West Virginia, I remember building an outdoor kind of playhouse hangout spot, and so it was kind of my first construction project. And I just remember being proud that the roof didn't leak, so that was good. But I do remember I ran all the shingles the same way instead of staggering them. So that still sticks in my mind at 10 years old today. So, and then,
We all have to start somewhere, you
that's
know?
right. And then took some woodworking drafting classes in high school. I still have the solid walnut oak coffee table sitting in my living room that, from shop class. And then, went to college for a little bit, then went in the military, started with 84 Lumber Company, and transferred around. This is when I was 19, 20, 21. Ended up being a store manager right outside Atlanta, Georgia when I was 21 for 84 Lumber Company. Left 84, came back, but it was when I was with 84, about 20 years old in the mid-90s. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina, met a good friend that was a superintendent for one of the largest home builders. And we started doing a lot of decks and screened-in porches together. So built a lot of decks and screened-in porches. Started the name was McKinney Deck
That
Builders.
was on the side while you were on doing 84 Lumber?
It was on the side while I was
Okay.
84 Lumber, 7 to 4, 7 to 5 Monday, it was actually Tuesday through Saturday. Because in North Carolina, my days off were Sunday and Monday. We'd leave when I wasn't working, we'd leave and get to the beach down in Riceville Beach. used to eat at this place called the Fish House. Man, it was awesome. Would sit there on the beach all weekend. So, but yeah, on the side, that was pre-marriage. Moved back to Kentucky. Started with a local remodeling company. Still doing stuff on the side. Met my wife. Got married in August of 2002. 6 months later, pregnant with our first. 2 months after that, started J&R and the reason it started full time, I was doing a lot of things on the side, and it was, starting to be overwhelming that, okay, and I prayed, I was like, Lord, if you want me to start this full time, you're gonna have to give me a stupid sign, smack me upside the head. And he did twice by two different people. So that last time that the second person said what they said, I just knew I knew it was time. So I almost had $700, and that's how I started J&R.
Ooh, big money.
So married, 6 months later, pregnant, 2 months after that, started J&R. And, I think as a business, I mean, you can relate to this. I think as business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders in company, whether you're a CEO or you're working for somebody, you almost have to have the mentality of, the ship arrives at the island, you get off the ship, and then all of a sudden you smell smoke and you look back and the guy that was driving the ship set it on fire because I'm not going back, and you have to have that kind of drive and passion because you're going to have the crap that hits the fan all the time. And I'll tell you, there is a handful of times, usually a month, that I just want to wad it up and throw it out the window. It's just how we are. But I think one recent book that I've gotten into is just awesome. You may know it. It's about two Navy SEAL guys called Extreme Ownership, and it is an awesome book. But
Jocko Willink and Leaf
Babin.
That's a great book. I love that book. I think if you're going to be an entrepreneur, that is one of the best books you can read on leadership and leading a new organization, because the principle in that book is really about, as the leader, everything rises and falls on you. It may be somebody else's fault, but then you got to ask the question, well, who put that person in that position? And who's the person that's ultimately responsible for the systems that person is managing and operating under? And who's the person that bought them that truck? And the list is always long. And the reason I really like that book, what resonated to me about that book was it made me feel like, oh, I can happen to life. I get to have some element of control over my situation. It's not just life burying me with stuff. There's always a new angle to take. There's always something different to do to persevere and push through. So I think it's a great book recommendation. I highly recommend it.
If I was going to put one book out there of my entire life, it would definitely be the Bible, and just the leadership in the Bible and the stories of all the different leaders and, all the different kings, and what they went through, the ups and downs, and just their perseverance and things like that. So another good one that we've done as a company over the years that I've actually had my staff train, because what we do, we're working in your home. We're working in your master bathroom that you don't even have your best friends usually go into. We're going past your bedroom, past your underwear drawer, all those things. And we're very intimate spaces of your home. And so it comes with a high level of trust, but also there's a lot of emotion attached to a remodeling project, and you're living in your home, you're walking through plastic and dust and, for months and all this stuff. So we've taken, it's the EQ, Emotional Intelligence 2.0 book, and train through that so that you can, one, as a person, know what your emotional intelligence is. We all have an IQ, but we also all have an EQ. Our IQ is pretty much set from the time we're little until forever, but our EQ can ebb and flow depending on how we're, emotionally intelligent through different aspects of, relationship management, self-management, all those things.
Yeah. Do you think is that the core driver of your customer service strategy? Like really just being self-aware, or do you guys have an actual system of hey, here's the 5 things we do every time we go to somebody's house, put on booties or something like that?
We're still developing, we're going on our 20th year, and we're still working through, our SOPs. We want to make it basically like the McDonald's the
Yeah.
J&R, you open the manual, take the fries out of the freezer, put the fries in the basket, put, all that
Hmm.
stuff. So step by step. But there's so many aspects of this when it comes to remodeling and your homes and emotions and homeowners and, dogs and pets and kids and, neighbors and all these things. So yeah, we've got, as far as customer service goes, it starts from, from your marketing message first. I think, who you are as a person, your core, what you want to be about, okay. So for us,
Hmm.
my slogan from the beginning has been customer service and quality first. I want to provide a good quality project that we can stand behind, that you're going to enjoy with your family for years. We reference home remodeling to almost like childbirth. And if there's the ladies that have had kids listen to this can get this, and we as men can't get it, but you have all this, growing inside of you, and you have pain. And I know my wife, the third daughter, she had double ear infection and couldn't sleep laying down and all this
Hmm.
stuff. But once you have the baby, it's like all that goes away. You've got this beautiful thing, this beautiful human being right there. So it's just like, that's kind of you have birthing pains through all the process, but at the end, it all is worth it. But I think it starts
Yeah.
from the different touches, and communication is number one. That's of our
Hmm.
pre-construction meetings that we have with our clients, and that checklist that we have. Communication has got the biggest paragraph in it. Um,
Hmm.
your communication style is different from mine.
Hmm.
I have a construction management software that we use that can keep you informed. It's got the schedule, financials, all that stuff, but you may not check your email that often. You may be more of a text person. You may want to
Hmm.
have a phone call. You may want to meet in person, and we're not, unless you're paying somebody to be there on your job 24/7, we're not at your job site 24/7. So, I mean, sometimes people show up when they're not supposed to show up, but I think communication and managing expectations are the biggest pieces of customer service. And I'll tell you that
Yeah.
projects that have not gone well have been a lack of setting correct expectations and communication.
That was going to be my next question is what I got to hear a story of a time, if you can recall it, that you guys didn't manage expectations or just like maybe you got, I mean, I know the extreme ownership thing, like you probably will look in the mirror and say, oh, we have some role to play in why this job didn't go well. But I got to hear a crazy customer service story. Like you go into people's homes, like you got to have something that is your go-to at the at the coffee shop when you're hanging out with your friends.
Man, there's where to start. No, I mean, I think if you've been in business long enough, you're going to have those handful. You can count on maybe one hand, maybe two of clients that just you remember, whether it was good or
Hmm.
bad.
Yeah.
And we've had
Well, I
we've
can
had
I
some
can tell a
clients
story
that,
while you're thinking through it.
yeah, we've had.
You want to hear mine? I've got
I
one.
got to be
I
very
don't think I've
careful
told
of
this
what
one
I
on the
say
pod.
here. I
Yeah.
might have
Yeah.
some.
Well, I've got one. So when we had the barbecue restaurant, we had a day where we had like 30 tickets in the window, which is a great problem to have, but it's a problem. Like it is a restaurant is a manufacturing facility with also face-to-face customer service. People don't think about that, but a restaurant is a manufacturing facility. Just like Ford Motor Company building cars, we're building sandwiches and sending them out the line. And we're trying to do it in crazy times. Um, and so we get backed up, like, it's a perfect storm. Who knows? Some system broke, something happened. And like the tickets are even going slower, like, because that is an abnormal volume for that restaurant at that time. And I was there and I was working the front, and we had like three or four people up front. Like it was a crazy situation. And that barbecue restaurant was, for people that don't know, or maybe you've never been to one, is like we had a counter service thing. So very similar to basically you go up, you order, you get a number, you go sit down. Well, this guy, he ordered and his stuff was to go, and he got put in the back of the queue. And if you want to order something to go, generally you as a person, you think, this is going to go faster. Like I'm to go, I should get it quicker and get out. Well, we were so backed up that there was nothing we could do to like get to go orders out faster, because that would have just made people waiting in the diner. It was just a perfect storm of a cluster. And I'm sitting there working, trying to, like, we're in the middle of, I call it, I have two different leadership styles. There's peacetime and there's wartime. And when there's 30 tickets in the window, it's now wartime, which means I'm directing, I'm saying, you go here, you do this, we go here, you stop moving. Like I'm not very interested in collaborating necessarily in that moment, and the other leaders on the team were the same way. within their certain, whoever's on the line. Like it was very much, let's get it done. All this chaos is happening. And this guy, he comes up and he said, hey, I've been waiting a while, da da da. And first interaction was normal. I'm like, yeah, I'm really sorry. We're really backed up. Let me go check on it for you. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be another 15 or 20 minutes, da da da. Well, after I told him the new updated waiting time, he looked at me and was like, I don't even remember what exactly he said. It was something along the lines of like, are you kidding? Like, is it really going to take another 20 minutes? And this thousands of customers served, and I've never broken. I was very proud of the fact that I had always kept I'm a former Air Force guy, so I'm military like you. Like I had some bearing about me, right? I prided myself on being able to keep it together. And then I just looked at this guy and I was like, what do you want me to do, man? I snapped. I looked at him, I was like, what do you want me to do? I'm like, and then I started I'm so glad, social media was a thing, but it's not as big as it is now because nobody broke their cameras out at the time. But I was like, you see all these people? There's like 100 people in the restaurant. We only seat 50. Like, what do you want me to do? Like right now, what would make you happy? The guy's face, he was like, well, I'd like my food, blah, 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 blah. And then I was like, you give me 2 seconds, I will go get your food. And then I walked back behind. I found his ticket, made his food myself, like jumping over people in the line, put it in a bag, and gave it to him. And I said, have a great day. And then he was like, oh, I will. And then he left. And then, we survive. We get through all the tickets. Everything happens. And then I'm like reflecting on this, and I'm going, I'm the worst, man. I'm like, that it was the worst. That was the worst. That I don't know what day that guy is having. I don't know what he's going through. I don't know why he's buying that food. He could be taking it to a hospital. He could be coming off a whole night shift. Like there's so many things that could have made him be impatient, but I did a terrible job serving him and really failed on the customer service front. And and I felt sick about it. And then what made me feel worse was that unless he left a review, which good chances he was going to because it was such a bad experience, and people love to review restaurants when it's a bad experience, right? Um, and we deserved a bad review in that case. A lot of the ones we didn't deserve, but that one we definitely would have deserved. And I was worried that I really wanted to be able to talk to him, and I just really, that came into my mind about I wanted to be able to apologize to this guy and try to make it right, beyond a generic restaurant. Like, let me give you something. I really wanted to try to make it up to this guy because I was so out of line. Randomly, an hour later, right before I'm leaving the restaurant for the day, get a phone call, answer the phone, and it's the guy. The guy was calling back. And you know what he said? He apologized to me. He was like, hey, I'm really sorry for, I know you guys are busy and I know you were hustling and I've just been thinking about this all afternoon. And I feel terrible that I did that. And I was like, dude, please don't apologize to me. Cause I was out of line and I was this and I was that. And so it was just a really nice, he didn't write a review and, we brought him back in for food and tried to take care of him the best we could. But yeah, it was a big learning moment. And then I, as the leader, got to go up in front of staff meeting. And then I just started using that as a story of uh, please don't be me, be better than me.
Right.
And showing that, we all fail and we all have our moments, but, there's a way to come back from it. But the customer service matters. I mean, if you're going to run a business, customer service is the thing that is going to bring you through. I think that I've heard a stat before. I got to go find it. It's a positive experience will be shared by a customer maybe 10 times. A negative one will be shared 50. So you're talking about a 5x
Yep.
return on negative experiences. So you better go out of your way to make sure your customer's having a good time.
Yeah, I was going to say, when there's something that goes wrong or we have a bad customer service experience, or a client is upset about something, it's usually I look back and I reflect. It's something that I didn't give somebody down the line good leadership or training or expectations, or I let them go too long. I mean, we've had some bad managers here and there, but it's ultimately, I kept them on staff. It's on me. If I didn't let them go and they were bad managers, not good communicators. But ultimately, we stand behind what we do. We offer a 5-year warranty with all of our work. We do a 10-year to lifetime warranty on all of our tile work that we do. So when I tell, if we have something that comes up and it actually gets to me eventually, we take care of it. And we just, ultimately it's what happens when the crap does hit the fan and how that company reacts
Mm-hmm.
and fixes the problem, even though it still may be
Mm-hmm.
frustrating and you didn't have a good experience, but we didn't go anywhere. We didn't leave you. And this industry is just well known for people just taking people's money and running and high and dry.
Yeah.
And we've gone in at multiple, one client that she was putting an addition on her house, went there and it was just framed up. I had a little bit of roofing on it, some electrical. For us, it was going to be an $80,000 project. I think the guy only charged her $17,000, and
Wow.
obviously
Underbid it by that much. Yeah. Yeah.
didn't pull a permit. Ended up, she got fined from the city and had to pay that fine when we ultimately had to go through the permit process. Framing was not done to code, so I mean, we had to do a lot of stuff and redo. And but she's so thankful that she found us, and she's got this addition now, and her home is, she's recouped, most of that value back. But yeah.
Well, back to your childbirth analogy, that like now that she has this beautiful room, she can just enjoy it, and
Yeah.
she's not thinking about all the pain of when it actually happened. I definitely empathize with that because as a service-based business now, high beam marketing, we have to pay for the sins a lot of times of our previous competitors or whoever they were using before we got there. And a lot of times it's like, I've heard this 100 times on sales calls. Marketing doesn't work. You guys just take money and you don't do anything and we never hear from you. And it's like you give us random metrics that you just make up and like my sales never grew. So like, I don't ever want to talk to you about marketing ever again, and it's unfortunate because there are a lot of people out there that just want to take people's money and or maybe they don't want to, maybe they don't know what they're doing. I don't know, but I don't like to think about people in a bad light, but I mean, I'm sure at some level you got to know, like, I'm not delivering the thing I said I was going to deliver. Like if that guy charged 17 grand and didn't refund all that money after totally screwing it up, that's a him problem, and speaks to his character and his values,
I also think about if I was going to go back and tell myself anything 20 years ago from experience, if somebody's getting ready to start a business or newly in a business, you're not going to please everybody. There are just going to be the Karens and the Richards of the world. If your name's Karen or Richard, I apologize, but you know what I mean. Just that there's going to be people that just are not happy in general, and no matter what you do, even if you were perfect, it's not going to be good enough. So, only do what you can do. And I think, when I was talking about burning the ships and not going back, you have to look at each one of those in each failure or anytime you fall down. What can I learn from it? And I mean, multiple times I've repeated the same mistake. How many times do I need to learn this lesson before I don't, make it right the next time?
Yeah, if you're like me, I've always been the guy that has to touch the stove before I believe it was hot. And a lot of times I'll be like, I don't think it was hot the first time. Maybe I just experienced it wrong, and then
Okay,
I'll
I'll
have to
give you
go
a
back and
bad
touch it again
parenting
and
moment
again.
here. So my middle daughter was 4 years old. We were at our lake house cooking pancakes. They like to be at the stove with me. It was her birthday weekend. Put a chair right up to the stove, so she's right there with me. We're flipping pancakes. I mean, you can already tell where this is going, right? Had took the pan off the stove for just a minute to get the pancake off and by that time she had lost her balance on the stool, and she's left-handed. Put her left hand right down on the burner, and I can still see her face. I mean, she's getting ready to turn 18 now, but I can still see her face and running cold water.
How old was she then when that happened?
She was 4.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. There's nothing worse than seeing a sad sub 5-year-old just looking up at you like, what is wrong with the world? What has happened to me?
Yeah.
I feel your pain. I have a 5-year-old daughter now, and she's the best thing ever. But when she's upset, it kills me on the inside.
I'll give you some, can I give you some dad of daughter advice?
Please.
So I have 3. So my daughters are 18, 17, and 14. Okay. Soon to be 19, 18, and 14. And I can't take credit for this at all. It was my wife's idea. But when we first had our oldest, she said, I think every couple times, at least a handful of times, if you can do it every other month, take her out on a date by herself. So I've done that ever since they were, itty bitty, and just the dividends
Wow.
of that have paid off. So it's always been, they get to pick where to eat, what activity they want to do, and where to go for dessert. And of course, you can imagine that's changed over time. Early on it's bounce
Yeah.
houses and stuff like that. Now it's the mall and buy me some clothes. But
Hey, I don't know. Maybe you take that 19-year-old back to the bounce house. That could be, nostalgia never dies. I love that. That's good advice.
but
I wrote a
ultimately it
note
comes
here.
down. My wife is always first. So
Hmm.
we go out on a date every single week, just me and her. And one thing I learned early on was I have what's called we call it talk time. Basically, I get home, I didn't want to talk about my day. I just lived my day, as a man, and I just I don't want to talk about
Hmm.
anything. But I learned I need to give my wife at least the Cliff Notes version of the day. So get
Yeah.
home, and even if the kids were coming up, I would say, she's the first one I find to give a kiss to, even if the kids are running up to me to hug and all this stuff. So, and that's things that I think, you know, are missing in a lot of our culture nowadays that, as
Hmm.
men, we're called to be the leaders and the spiritual leaders of our families. And if you look at a lot of the issues in the world is because of absent fathers.
Hmm. Yeah. I have a question about family and business. And I'll let you get out of here on this one, but the entrepreneurship a lot of times like having a whole nother family. I mean, it is a all encompassing thing because, like you said before, it's 24/7 for you. I mean, if something happens at 3 a.m. at a client's house, ultimately, you hope you have people and teams in place to deal with it, but eventually it gets to you. So, how do you balance being an entrepreneur, a small business owner, and a great family man with a long, successful marriage and three daughters?
Well, that's so back to expectations. Early on, you know, you're working during the day. If you want me to come see your bathroom, you're usually getting home in the evening. That's when you want me to come look at it. All those things. Well, we kind of changed our philosophy a little bit. If you can pay to get your teeth drilled during the day, well, then you can take time off to talk to me about your home remodeling project.
I love
I'll
that.
give you a statistic. More people spend more time researching and pricing for a car than they will $100,000 home remodeling project. And
That doesn't surprise me. That's that. I mean, I'm glad you shared that, but I'm time and time again we see that the bigger our contract numbers are at Hyving, the easier the client is, and like the faster everything goes. But like when I'm nickel and diming over a $500 a month every other week consulting thing, it's like brutal, brutal. But
So I
yeah,
would
sorry,
say,
keep going.
setting up those expectations, like we tell our clients, we're available, and this is at pre-construction. We do it at sales, at pre-construction. We're available from
Mhm.
8 to 5, Monday through Friday. We have what's called the bat phone, that gets, goes to somebody that's manning that hardly ever rings. I mean, occasionally you have something that happens, somebody stepped on a drain line and then now there's water leaking.
Mhm.
We've had that issue. I mean, I can one hand and not use all my fingers that I've gotten a call after hours, but you have to set that expectation.
Wow.
Now we have an online
Yeah.
system that's there 24 hours. You can send a message. You're at work, you come home, you put the kids dinner, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. Oh, I need to tell my contractor something. We tell them use the online system. And our managers, we tell them, we tell our project managers, turn your phone off at 5 o'clock. If you keep your phone
Mhm.
on and you want to see your messages, there better not be a reply from you to a client until 8 o'clock the next morning. So it's setting
Mhm.
up some of
I
those
like that.
expectations because, in our world, God's first, then family, then me, and work is down here towards the bottom. We're not going to,
Hmm.
Chandler, you and I, when we're 80, we're not going to wish we worked more.
So true. Man, I don't think I could build on that. That feels like a great ending to our first ever podcast. We definitely I got more notes here to talk about like how you run multiple locations, how you do marketing for your business, how you guys treat sales. Like, and I'm sure expectation management is going to be a big part of all of that. I'm seeing a theme in your entrepreneur slash leadership style, which I love. And I don't want to keep you here all day long. I know you have more people's bathrooms to fix. So
I'll leave you with
coming out of this, man.
can I leave you
Yeah, go
a
for it.
little marketing nugget since this is a marketing podcast, right? So
Go
my,
for it.
my
Yeah.
philosophy on a client, before we step foot in your house, we've touched you at least 5 times. So you saw our ad or you found us
Hmm.
online. You went online to find us. Then you've called, You've talked to our person. We've set up an appointment. We've sent you several marketing emails with videos on expectations. So what to expect during your home remodel. We have about a 6-minute video from the time you call to a warranty. Then we have another video just on the emotional roller coaster. So we actually have a graph that shows, I wish I had one I'd show you on the video, the ups and downs. I mean, and usually the lowest point in this graph is drywall. And then it goes up from there after it's putting back together. So we do an emotional roller coaster. So you've gotten
That's so funny.
all those touches. Then we snail mail you a packet. So it comes in a letter size, hard, binder that's logoed and everything. It's got all the information on who we are, meet the owner. It's got my background, all the staff, client references, the emotional roller coaster graph, all this literature that we snail mail to you. I could email it, but where's the touch in that? So
I love personal mail. Personal mail is so underrated as a marketing tactic. Like all you get in the traditional mailbox is junk mail now. And so if you want to stand out in your marketing message, zig where everybody else is zagging. And there's a ton of underpriced attention in people's mailboxes right now. And a handwritten note for most people with the volume of clients you have, especially as small business owners, it's so tangible that you could send every client a letter every year.
Yeah. And then once
for 99% of small business owners.
Yeah. And then once we finally see you, whether we move forward or not, then you get a thank you card. Hey, thanks for the appointment. Now, here's another little nugget. I'll just, and I know I've said that.
Give me all the nuggets. Give me them all. No,
anything
I'm
we
here
mail, we always include 2 business cards. One to keep, one to hand out.
I like it. Hey, word of mouth and referrals, man. That is how service businesses like ours make pay dirt.
That's how we pay for all these teenagers. Right?
Well, that's it. Yeah. Well, I've got some coming up, so I need to go out and sell some more marketing. So I guess if you need help with marketing, go to highbeammarketing.com. So I can take my daughter on all these dates
right.
that Jimmy is signing me up for the next 20 years.
That's right. And if you're
so like I got stuff to pay for.
If you're in the Lexington area or if you're in Owensboro, Henderson, look up jrcsi.com, Google J&R Construction, you'll find us.
I'll link you guys up in the show notes, and that way everybody that's in that area can go check you guys out. And I know Jimmy's heart and spirit. Connect with him on LinkedIn if you want to help with running your own construction company or you're doing your own leadership growth journey. Jimmy's a great guy to follow, and he's answered my questions before, and I'm a big fan. So, Jimmy, man, thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Anytime.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.